know if you know me, but I'm the guy who wears the Perry cap. Also, I'm Captain Paladin LP. So, hi. But anyway, I just wanted to know, what the heck are you thinking? Because let's see here. I may be 28 years old, but tell you the truth, I'll tell you something. You messed up, big time. And even Perry says it. See those eyes of his? You messed up. But anyway, I'll be reasonable about this. I may be 28 years old, or probably, someone else's father by now. But anyway, I care a great deal about the youth in this country, and I care about the gaming culture. Remember the thing you call Let's Playing and video game footage on YouTube? Well, to be quite honest with you, I think you drawn the line, and even Perry, right here, is pissed off too. I may be as old as Ernest T. World from Ernest Goes to Camp, but I'll tell you the truth. I may be a redneck, I may be a hillbilly, but I always love Nintendo. And I don't give a rat's ass what you say about Let's Plays. Because, well, let's just put it to you this way. You hurt a lot of people. But anyway, I am Captain Paladin LP. I got a message for all of you. Keep up the fight. That's all I gotta say. Stay strong. Maybe there is a way around this. Who knows? But let's talk about it, shall we?
So, now that I have seen me and my Perry hat, kind of like, have a few things to talk about. Talk about as if, sort of like, business about this whole Nintendo thing that's going on. Well, I plan on doing something a little bit more complex later. And I kind of have a few things I want to share in terms of what my personal background says about what is going on. And given that this is a Nintendo, mercy. There is so many different things that you have to consider when it comes to copyrights, and someone who has graduated into the business field that I did, well, let's put it to you this way. A copyright is virtually an intangible asset. It is an asset to a company that either one has purchased from another person or company, or it's through their own. Generally, these have value. Of course, they sometimes, place monetary values in order for them to collect royalties and such like that. And of course, royalties is the monetary unit for which they collect, off from the sales, pretty much. Of course, they also got to get their assets. They have to pay their overhead in terms of labor and all that fun stuff. I can go on and on and on, and I'm not going to bore you guys to death with it. But here's the simplistic thing. That Nintendo apparently has gone through 2 lawsuits in the past, and I think since 2008. I am going. There are two lawsuits that has happened within the last. I will, of course, post these, of course, as documentation. But first lawsuit was over their 3DS system. I'm looking at the one article from GameStop here. It says federal jury awards former Sony veteran $30.2 million in damages. Apparently, the patent in question relates to technology created developing 3D images with the need of 3D glasses. So basically, Nintendo was sued by this company called Tomita. This was way back. This has been going on and since 2011, and claimed that they were entitled to $9.80 for every 3DS sold. So apparently, what was going on, and this is just a brief summary, that Nintendo had been in copyright violation of their own for the 3DS, and apparently this company wanted over $200 million, nearly $300 million for damages since the release of the 3DS or whatever. But the jury has only awarded $30.2 million damages to Tomita Technologies on a patent infringement. So that one was set aside. That one was settled, given that Nintendo was found guilty of that one thing. The second, and this was back in 2008, and trying to think here. This was over the Wii, of course, and okay, the second ruling, and this was the one from Reuters, and I'll post the documentation, of course, the link to the website for that. The federal court appears affirmed. This was basically back in 2008, when this one company, Motivia LLC, basically sued Nintendo against the Nintendo Wii, apparently, for its wireless connection. I guess for its internet wireless patent, apparently. Because I guess that somehow the wireless, it looks like the wireless connection that the wireless internet, which you are able to connect your Wii to the internet. It's basically, I guess the technology was, in question was, the patented technology was, somewhat similar to the technology, developed by Nintendo, and apparently there's been a dispute about that, over the wireless connection between the two. So apparently this one company, Motivia LLC, sued Nintendo, and apparently this has been over the wireless kind of thing. Apparently they feel that they were violated. So apparently Nintendo did not, and they were ruled. Notivia was ruled, which Nintendo had won that case apparently in 2012, and then Motivia went to the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, and I guess that was, I guess, what you call patented technology. So I guess that's one other thing. Now, whether this has to do with the YouTube, since YouTube has a channel on Nintendo Wii, I don't know. This is kind of like this is kind of like a gray area that, given that Nintendo has already been sued, countless times over this and countless times over this, of course, they're going to put their money where their mouth is, and that's how, where most of their money goes to, is to these court challenges and stuff like that. And unfortunately, and we can argue this to the dawn of time, that LPs, whether they constitute to a violation or not, I don't know. This is one that I am not going. It's very hard for me to say anything about, because I am a business major in college. I graduated, and you got business law, and when you're an accountant, you have to regulate these things called patents. And these, of course, these, copyrights have, rules and such like that. And you also got one recent ruling about streaming. And just recently, I don't remember which company it was, but this one company, which is a streaming company, that had won the rights to stream, like copyrighted shows like Brady Bunch, all those classic TV shows over the internet and such like that. And of course, Hollywood has been trying to fight that, but in recent ruling they lost. So that's been another issue. And now that you can stream video games, you're going to hear another court challenge. And granted that, corporations are considered classified people, and granted, when Mitt Romney mentioned that, that's what one of the many reasons why I did not vote for Mitt Romney, and I will admit that, because the saying is corporations are people. Yes, they do have power, just like people, normal average citizens, and somehow they've taken the 13th Amendment, to new heights, and how they legitimize as people. They kind of say, okay, corporations, they're kind of like, they do have a circulatory system, which is money. So basically, to keep a corporation alive, the blood, of course, of a corporation is, of course, money. And where they get their money, they'll find whatever means they can to get the money. And if they have to stick it to, the people, and if this is one of their methods, they can do this. And to hell with morality, or to hell with free speech, with the recent court ruling about Citizens United, corporations are people. They can earn money. They have a way. They can function as a human being. And unfortunately, Nintendo, in our capitalistic society, Nintendo is part of that corporate America. So you get into this gray area of morality versus, the money. And as an accountant, you're kind of screwed when you're working for a boss that you're basically, and I hate to say this because, this is kind of making it scary, much more scarier than it is, but we're the minions of the corporate executives, pretty much. I hate to, explain what an accountant does, but we are basically the slaves to the corporate executives because they go to us to ask us where can we find some money. And granted that the Wii U has not done well, apparently some gremlin has decided to target Let's Plays, and if this is what they think they can generate the most ad revenue, then this is how they do it. YouTube is becoming somewhat an arm to these corporations where they can sell a product. Well, which is I don't mind, personally. I don't care how they sell their product. I mean, that's fine if they want to advertise, but I hate commercials. And it's one of the least things I look forward towards. I'm not as rich as most people think in terms of my education. I mean, I'm still poor. I barely get by as it is. But yeah, it's fairly complicated. It's one of those things that you want to say to corporations that you're bullying America. And how I'm educated, in terms of what business law is, well, the business, they'd have the anatomical parts to function as a human being. Because, they got, imagine it's kind of like if you have little people living inside your own body controlling their functions, as it is with your brain, with a CEO as a brain, your brain central, sort of like that. You've seen, cartoons, I don't remember which one I've seen like that before, but I think it was like a cartoon called Bobby's World, if I'm not mistaken, that, I don't know. I don't think that's not even a good example, but well, I guess you could say, some of these cartoons, I think it was Tiny Toon Adventures or Tiny Toon Adventures, I think maybe Bobby's World had something like this, where there's, these little parts in your human body, are living things, pretty much, and, that's how it is. But, I don't know how to explain it. These lawsuits never end. They find the best, and that's probably where this ad money goes to. They go to overhead. They go to, of course, trying to produce these advertisements. They go to making these games. They go to, of course, fight off these court challenges. And if you think growing up was difficult, wait, this is the real world, unfortunate. I'm one who never voted for Mitt Romney because of his saying corporations are people. Well, I think he was being somewhat of an asshole about it. I mean, I think, I think you ought to, with these copyrights and such like that, you ought to be a little bit more lenient and such in terms of what you're trying to distribute. I mean, something I've learned when working at the deli. I used to work at a deli in Wanakee, Wisconsin, and I had this boss who kind of like, was, well, he was the owner of the store. He was, because I worked in the deli department, but one of the things he told me, and I kind of had this kind of conflict with, and it still stick with me till today. And as a business leader, I would understand it, but as someone who worked as a subordinate, it's kind of like, your morality is conflicted. But he told me this one time that, the way we do things here at the deli, that we're here to provide the best customer service there is. But at the same time, we're here to train the public of how we do things. And I guess at first I never really understood that. Because, you wanted to help. I guess it's kind of one of those things you feel conflicted. And that was one of the things that stuck with me, because, in accounting, you're the same way. You're there to inform the manager of what they can do. You can be the snot ass that you want. And this is probably the way. And I'm here, and I don't know if I never really got over this point, and still am today, that if you cannot provide a customer with a service, then you can't do it. I mean, there are some things that's beyond your capabilities, of course. But you're also taught the customer is always right. And, you're kind of like, what you want to do the best you can for the customer, but you never want to turn them away for, a product. And whenever you are into accounting, I now, realize it's the same ethical dilemma. It's kind of hard for me to admit this as an accountant that's trying to get into an accounting field, that you're basically the gremlin for the CEO, or gremlin of what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be there to save the boss money. I guess the CEO is the brain. And you're there for the public, but at the same time, you're supposed to tell the public and suggest ways the public must act in this set of circumstances, so in order for your product to be a success. And it's one of those things, moral dilemmas. Does the pocketbook matter than morality itself? Does the pocketbook, the dollar you're trying to earn from other people, fits in within the mission of what the company stands for? And I don't know personally the books of Nintendo, to be honest with you, but in the accountant's shoes, they probably found this was probably one of their suggestions. Given that I am a Let's Player myself, and also an accountant, this would have been one of their suggestions. And it's kind of like, we're here, we're basically, the arm of the CEO, and apparently some accountant or some office manager or whatever suggested this. And whether they wanted it done or not, it's kind of like, am I hurting the Let's Play community by making a suggestion to corporate Nintendo saying, limit Chugga Conroy, screw all the Let's Players, because we need the royalties just to make a quick dollar so we can get our balance sheet in order. And apparently that decision was made. So, I hear myself just almost crying in shame because I'm an accountant, and I'm kind of rambling on and on about this, but it's something that I try not to think about. But someone made that suggestion. I don't know if y'all understand, but it is, and apparently this is how they want to pursue the royalties, and they said stick it to Chugga Conroy, they say stick it to Josh Jepson, they say stick it to all the Let's Players, because, we don't care about the morality. All that matters is the success of Nintendo. And if we have to take a bump from the product, then so be it. So, I'm only guessing, only predicting what's in the mind of the executives. Because, we have some of the toughest copyright laws here in the States. And now that YouTube is, I think has somewhat became weak, it's, you don't know whose side to take on this one. Because, this is a conflict of interest. So, and I really feel that, I think Nintendo could have been a little bit more empathetic, but they chose to go this route. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's one of those things when you want to... It's what I'm trying to become, an accountant, but at the same time, I'm here to make the decisions, help the executive make a decision. What kind of a person I am to actually suggest, kind of a conflict of interest. Well, apparently, they are desperate. If I were to, ignoring my accounting hat, I would have said to Nintendo, you know what, you need a change in leadership. Because it's sticking it to this kind of, constituency, you run the risk of alienating some people. And I think it would have been if I were, like a investor in Nintendo, a shareholder, I would question how this is going to affect. And sometimes I think the Let's Play community is already being ignored because you still got the greats Chugga Conroy and Josh Jepson and all those, the big boys, but there's us, the little people. And, the little people suffer. I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I could make it easier for each of you to understand this, but as someone who has graduated with accounting degree and understand what it's like, who understand business law and such, I want to help the Let's Play community. I think Nintendo's been a part of my life too. But I don't know. But I think I'll end it here. I really thank you guys for watching. Or not watching, well, watching what kind of a nutcase I am. I'm a village idiot, more or less, in the beginning, but if I were a Nintendo PR officer, I would have either offered my resignation, pretty much, I would, but I don't know. My business side is saying this is not exactly a practical thing. This is not really a smart approach, because I know what the Let's Play community is. I mean, I think I'm part of that mechanic, but I don't work for Nintendo. That's the thing. And I wish they would not do this. But apparently, Nintendo has got it in their heads that Let's Playing is copyright infringement. That's why you see these content IDs. So, because they got it in their heads because they have the power to think this. The corporation has decided that this is how it's going to be. And they have an anatomical power as a human being, unfortunately. So, okay, well, it's going to be 30 minutes. I think I've explained it enough, but thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate the time. Have a good night, folks.